Welcome back to another Daggerheart combat example, here in my custom-made arena. It's a full crowd tonight, and they're yearning for blood. Now, at a glance, you might think this encounter is fairly straightforward, and will be a walkover for our brave heroes. There are two of them, they're both level 3, and they only have a single solo enemy to deal with, which in the battle guide is 3 points short of the recommended spend. But there are two other factors here which will affect things immensely. Firstly, our heroes are both at the end of an adventuring day, with hit points and stress already built up. Not to mention a DM already has 6 fear at his disposal. Secondly, I am utilising a custom environment stat block, the Theatre of Broken Dreams. This basically means that the audience is desperate to see the heroes lose, and the odds will be heavily stacked against them. So, let's get this show on the road and introduce our heroes. First up, Christa the Sorcerer. She is a fairy from the Wildborn community, and she has the Primal Origin Foundation. And with her is Dufet, a bard. He is a Dracona from the Highborn community, and his origin is Troubadour. The jeers of the crowd are deafening, and horrible obscenities are shouted at both heroes. Eventually they silence in anticipation for the gates to open and Christa and Dufet's opponent to emerge. Dufet turns to Christa and uses his rally feature. "We've been through many adventures," he says. "One day our luck will run out and we will cross over into the misty veil of the beyond. But it is not this day. This day belongs to us. We've got this, Christa. I believe in you." Dufet and Christa both receive a d6 rally die, which they can roll to add to an action, reaction, or damage roll, or clear stress equal to the result. Christa gives Dufet a nod, and she turns to look towards the gate. But it doesn't open. The arena goes quiet. Where is their foe? It is the incessant buzzing that makes them crane their heads towards the sky. And that's when they see it. The juvenile Flickerfly descends towards them. She has been trained to feast on the fighters in the arena, and she is hungry. The DM starts the fight with 6 fear, and he acts first. The Flickerfly has a passive feature called Relentless. Normally an adversary can only be spotlighted once during the GM's turn, but the Flickerfly can be spotlighted 3 times. The first spotlight is free, but any after that and the DM must spend a fear. The Flickerfly wastes little time going in for its first attack. It uses its wing slash against Dufet. But before it makes its attack roll, please note that the Flickerfly has another passive feature, Peerless Accuracy. This means before it makes the attack, it rolls a d6. On a result of 4 or higher, poor Dufet's evasion score is halved, and the Flickerfly rolls a 6, so Dufet's evasion will be halved against the incoming attack. DMs always roll a d20 for their attack roll, and adds the adversary's attack bonus to it. The DM rolls a 10 and adds 3 for a total of 13. This is above Dufet's evasion score, which is now 6 because you always round up in Daggerheart. So the attack is a hit, and the DM rolls for damage. The wing slash deals 2d10 plus 4 damage. The DM rolls a 7 and a 5 for a total of 16 damage. Now this is in the major damage threshold for Dufet. He does not want to take 2 hit points so early in this fight, so he marks an armor slot to reduce the damage to minor and marks 1 hit point. Now the Flickerfly turns its attention to Christa for another wing slash. The DM spends a fear to spotlight it again. The DM rolls for the Flickerfly's Peerless Accuracy again. This time the result is a 2, so Christa will not halve her evasion for the incoming attack. The DM rolls a 7 for a total of 10. This is just below Christa's evasion score, so the attack misses. The DM is not done. He spends another fear to spotlight the Flickerfly once more, and uses its Mind Dance feature. It marks a stress to create a dazzling magic display that grapples the minds of Christa and Dufet. Christa and Dufet need to make instinct reaction rolls against the Flickerfly's difficulty of 13. Reaction rolls are a little different to normal action rolls. They do not generate hope or fear, and allies cannot help you with them. Dufet goes first, rolling the duality dice and adding his instinct trait, which is 0. He rolls a 10 and has failed the reaction roll. Christa goes next. She rolls a 14 for a total of 17, and she has passed. The DM gains 1 fear and learns one of Dufet's fears. Dufet blurts out that he often wakes in the night sweating, after dreaming of being stranded in the ocean hundreds of miles from land and water. Christa looks at him, a mix of sympathy and bewilderment on her face. As part of an action, a player or adversary can move within close range, which is around 30 feet. So the Flickerfly then buzzes skywards again. The DM is still going. He's throwing everything at this fight. He spends 1 more fear to use the sniper feature from the environment stat block. Someone watching clearly does not like the fact that Christa has survived 2 attacks from the Flickerfly. The sniper makes an attack roll against Christa, adding +1 to the result. He rolls a 15 for a total of 16. That beats Christa's evasion score of 11, so the attack is a success. The DM rolls 1d10 plus 2 damage. He rolls a 7 for a total of 9 damage. Christa compares this to her damage thresholds and can see that this is major damage. With reluctance, she marks an armor slot to reduce it to minor. She's reluctant because this is her last armor slot, and she marks 1 hit point. The DM, feeling like he has started this fight pretty strong, hands play back to the players. Christa is a fairy and can fly. She sets off in pursuit of the Flickerfly, meeting him high over the arena. She attacks with her Hammer of Exota. She also uses one of her Primal Origin abilities, marking a stress to add +2 to the attack roll. She rolls an 8 on her Hope die and a 3 on her Fear die. She adds +3 because the weapon uses her Instinct trait, and +2 for her Primal Origin feature. In total, that's a 16 with Hope. She gains a Hope, and the DM informs Christa that it beats the Flickerfly's difficulty score, and so it's a hit. Now she rolls for damage. Christa is level 3, which means her proficiency is 2. This means she rolls 2 d8s for damage and adds 6. She rolls a 3 and a 6 for a total of 15. The DM checks the Flickerfly's damage thresholds and can see that this is major damage, and it marks 2 hit points. You will also notice that the Flickerfly has a reaction feature called Hallucinatory Breath. This triggers the first time it takes damage. It breathes hallucinatory gas on all targets in front of it, in this case, Christa. She must succeed on an instinct reaction roll or be tormented by fearful hallucinations. Christa rolls the duality dice and adds her instinct trait, which is 3. She needs to beat the Flickerfly's difficulty of 13. She gets an 18 in total, so she's safe for now. The Flickerfly's hallucinatory breath is a countdown feature. The DM places a d6 as a countdown. This will descend each time a PC makes an action roll. Now let's go back to the environment stat block. It has a passive feature called Hostile Audience. When a player inflicts an adversary with major damage or higher, the crowd boos and jeers formidably. Christa must mark a stress, her last one. Dufet wants the spotlight. First, he jumps down to a lower crate, perhaps scared that someone will come crashing down on top of him. Then he uses his Troublemaker ability. He shouts at the Flickerfly, taunting it. "Hey, Buzzface! Why don't you flick off, you buzzing juvenile?" Dufet must make a presence roll to see if the taunt had any success. He rolls a 6 on his Hope die, a 10 on his Fear die, and adds his presence trait of +3. This is a total of 19, but with fear. He beats the Flickerfly's difficulty, and the Flickerfly now marks 2d4 stress. Dufet rolls a 5 in total, and the Flickerfly marks that many stress. But the Flickerfly only has slots to mark 4, so he must mark a hit point instead. A success with fear means that the player gets what they want, but it comes at a cost. The DM now gets to make a move. This does not necessarily mean spotlighting an adversary and attacking. It could, but on this occasion a DM decides to embrace the narrative of this hostile arena. He describes how the audience do not like Dufet's mockery of the Flickerfly. They pelt him with rotten fruit, veg, and even stones. The barrage comes from all sides, and Dufet is unable to avoid it. He takes 1 direct physical damage. Direct damage means that he cannot reduce it using armour, so he takes a minor wound and marks 1 hit point. With fear to spend, the DM now spends 1 to spotlight the Flickerfly once more. Livid with Dufet's insults, it descends upon him. It goes to attack with its wing slash again. It rolls to see if its peerless accuracy lowers Dufet's evasion score by rolling a d6. It gets a 1, and Dufet stands firm. The Flickerfly makes an attack roll, rolling a 2 and adding 3 for a total of 5. Clearly Dufet's insults really left their mark, and it misses. Again, the DM spotlights the Flickerfly for 1 more fear, and again it attacks Dufet. This time it gets a 6 on its peerless accuracy roll, so Dufet's evasion is halved to 6. The Flickerfly rolls to attack and rolls a 10 for a total of 13. That's a hit. It rolls 2d10 plus 4 for damage and gets a total of 14. This is major damage for Dufet. This would mean marking his last hit point. Instead he marks an armour slot and takes minor damage, marking 1 hit point. The DM decides to save his remaining 2 fear and gives the spotlight back to the players. Dufet asks for the spotlight first. Clearly he has a plan. The first thing he does is use a Troubadour Foundation feature, Epic Song. He sings a little song at the Flickerfly, making him temporarily vulnerable. Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Flickerfly, if you think we're on the run? Then he uses his Book of Typhar domain ability to produce a wild flame. He makes a spellcast roll against the Flickerfly. He rolls with advantage because the Flickerfly is vulnerable. He gets a 10 on his hope die, a 3 on his fear die, and a 2 on his advantage die. He also adds his presence trait for a total of 18 with hope. This beats the Flickerfly's difficulty and the attack is a hit. Dufet gains a hope. Now Dufet rolls for damage, rolling a 5 and a 6 for a total of 11. This is minor damage for the Flickerfly and he marks 1 hit point. But Wild Flame also causes the Flickerfly to mark stress, so this was a great choice for Dufet. The Flickerfly has no stress left, so instead it marks another hit point. Following this, the countdown timer for the Flickerfly's hallucinatory breath goes down to 5. Christa takes the spotlight. The first thing she does is use the rally die that Dufet gave her earlier. She chooses to roll and clear stress equal to the result. She gets a 5 and clears all but 1 of her stress. Now she uses her Unleash Chaos domain feature. At the start of the session, she put tokens equal to her spellcast trait on this card, and she has 2 left. She decides to spend both of them in one go. She makes a spellcast roll against the Flickerfly. It's still vulnerable, so she rolls an advantage die. She gets an 11 on her hope die, a 12 on her fear die, and a 5 on the advantage die. She adds her spellcast trait for a total of 31 with fear, an emphatic hit. For damage, she now rolls d10s equal to the number of tokens she spent, 2. She gets a 9 and a 7 for a total of 16. This is major damage for the Flickerfly, and it marks 2 more hit points. Don't forget the environment stat block and the hostile audience passive feature. Again, the crowd boos and jeers at Christa, and she marks a stress. The countdown timer goes down to 4. Because Christa rolled with fear, the DM takes the spotlight, activating the Flickerfly. Although Christa just tried to sear the scales off the flying foe, it is still livid with Dufet for the series of taunts and unsavoury songs he's been singing. It goes in for its wing slash once more. As usual, it sees if its peerless accuracy takes effect. It rolls a 2, so it does not. It makes the attack roll, rolling a 19 plus 3 for a total of 22. Dufet gulps. He has 1 hit point left. The Flickerfly rolls for damage and scores a total of 15. This is in the major threshold for Dufet. He can mark 1 armour, but it's not enough. He marks his last hit point. In Daggerheart, you have 3 options when this happens. Number 1, he can go out in a blaze of glory, taking 1 more action which critically succeeds, then he crosses over into the Veil of Death. Number 2, he could avoid death, which puts him unconscious until an ally clears 1 or more hit points, or the party finishes a long rest. This might mean he gains a scar, meaning he permanently loses a hope slot. Or number 3, he could risk it all and roll the duality dice. If the hope die is higher, he gets back to his feet, clearing hit points and stress equal to the value of the die. But if the fear die is higher, well, that's the end of Mr. Dufet. Dufet has never been a gambler, nor is he one to avoid the inevitable. It's time for a blaze of glory. He looks up at his fairy friend hovering in the sky, beautifully haloed by the setting sun. He smiles at her. Then, with the last of his strength, he casts Wild Flame once more. It's an automatic critical success, so all Dufet needs to do is roll for damage. A critical means he takes the highest possible value of his dice, 12 in this case, then rolls for damage as normal and adds this to the total. All in all, he gets a 23. This is major damage for the Flickerfly. It marks 2 hit points, leaving 1 remaining. But Wild Flame also causes 1 stress. With no stress to mark, the Flickerfly marks its last hit point and slumps to the ground beside Dufet. The bard smiles one last time at Christa as she flutters down beside him. He wants to say something to her, but the light fades from his eyes before he can find the right words. For a while, the whole arena is silent, except for the sobs coming from the fairy. Then one spectator starts to clap. Then another. Then another. Then the whole arena is on their feet and they're erupting in thunderous applause. The crowd wanted to see death, but they got so much more. A hero's sacrifice is worth 1,000 kills in the theatre of broken dreams. I hope you enjoyed this encounter. If I've made any mistakes, please let me know in the comments. Let's all learn Daggerheart together. And be sure to let me know if there's any classes, domain abilities, adversaries that you'd like me to showcase. Until next time, may your rolls always be with hope.